Welcome to Two Bottles Deep. We're a podcast where we venture into the world armed with humor, sarcasm, and a willingness to admit when we're wrong. Well, most of the time.
And our goal is to have open and honest conversations while we discuss topics that affect us as humans and as gay men.
And thank you so much for listening. And now it's time to get Two Bottles Deep. We are living in one of the most pivotal moments in our nation's history, the upcoming presidential election on November 5th. The two biggest contenders in this race are Kamala Harris, the current vice president, and former President Donald Trump. Now, this isn't just another election. It's a defining moment that will shape the direction of our country for years to come. The six most debated issues for this current election are inflation, immigration, healthcare, jobs and economy, abortion, and national security. Today, we decided to dive into the election, not with pundits or experts, but rather two podcasters with a basic knowledge of politics. So whether you agree or disagree, this is the kind of conversation happening in homes, workplaces, and communities across the world. We definitely don't know all the facts, but wanted to have a civil, engaging, and probably slightly heated debate between two normal Americans passionate about the future of our nation. So welcome to the Two Bottles Deep presidential debate. Wow. Hello, Wes.
Thanks, Phil.
How are you,
You
babe?
sound like you should be on CNN.
I feel like I am today.
We are. We're going to
Welcome.
tackle some crazy. I mean, the world has been knocking at your door.
Oh, they're dying to know my opinion.
They are. They
Yeah.
are. We have lines of fans out in front of the home.
Or maybe
here.
line.
Line. Yeah.
Well, nobody.
Oh, no, they're going to the mailbox.
Yes, not
So,
for us.
y'all, okay, so we started this. Well, we didn't start. We did a political, what is that
It's like
thing
a quiz.
called? A quiz.
Yeah.
Online is 20. It's one of those 25 questions. What are you?
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty general. So you didn't know like which way the question was leaning.
Yeah, because you could some of those you could throw.
Yeah.
It's like, do you go to church every Sunday?
Right.
Republican.
Right. Do you like trans?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Absolutely. So we did this, and we want to kind of start off by saying, kind of like go through, I guess, what we found out. 'Cause I don't know what you are.
Yeah.
And again, y'all, it wasn't like, are you Republican, Democrat, or Independent? It kind of went a little bit farther than that. So we want to talk about that first, and then get into the hot topics of American stuff.
Yeah. So what was your what did they determine you were after the political quiz?
Get this. I've never heard of it ever. I'm a stressed sideliner.
Same.
How are we the same?
Same. I was so
God,
upset about
lucky.
this. I really did think I would lean a little more Democrat, but
Yep.
so a stress sideliner, which this told me after I was told I was, is someone that has a mix of conservative and liberal views, and is also the least politically engaged.
I feel
I know.
you're
Yeah.
engaged.
Yeah, we're most likely to describe our personal financial situation as fair or poor.
Yeah.
that tracks.
Yeah, that one's
They're onto
spot
something,
on,
yeah.
by the way. Yeah.
But yeah, we don't really hold an opinion per
And-
this.
It's weird because I knew I was down the middle, right? We've talked about that before, but 23% of the stress sideliners are Republican, 20% are other, 19% Democrat, 34% are identify as independents.
Well, I guess all that says is that we've got views that fall into both camps, and we can't really settle just yet. So why don't we talk about it?
Let's do it. I love it.
Let's start with the polling, the current polls. I looked at this
Ooh.
morning. I think Kamala Harris is at 47.5%, and Trump is at 45.7%.
So
So
the independents
close-
are still getting a couple
close
percent.
race, yeah.
That's close.
So shall we
Yes.
jump into our first topic?
And let's preface this. So we started talking about doing an episode like this before Uncle Joe dropped out.
Yes.
What were because my views have totally changed. Not totally, but they have a lot, hugely. What were your thoughts on Biden rerunning?
I was concerned. I do think there was a definite age issue, his
Mhm.
ability to stay cognizant and aware for the next 4 years. I don't think he's been a great president, but I don't think he's as awful as people make him out to be.
Yeah.
I don't think since he dropped out, I don't think I've been like super energized like I think a lot of the country has been. What about you?
There's a shift.
Were you pro Biden when he was running?
The first time, yes. This time, I just saw. I'm not a medical professional, and I think 99% of the people that are interjecting online are not professionals. At least the ones that are posting stuff that I see are nowhere near medical professionals. So I don't know what's going on, but I did not want him to run just for maybe the sake of the country, but for he and his family. I just don't know if he wanted to run.
Yeah,
he didn't perform well on the debate. It just looked so sad. And I don't know what he has. I don't know what he's struggling with, or it might just be age and getting confused.
The debate was a big turning point for me. It was.
I could not vote for him.
It was sad. It was really sad to watch. It was watching an older gentleman kind of realize on a national stage or international stage that he's not
international,
not appropriate.
And I struggled because I said, okay, do I want to vote for a party that's more in line with our rights? But then I liked a lot of stuff Trump did.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but then in our world, you're either one or the other. You can't be down the middle.
Yeah.
You can't be teetering in the middle. It's far extreme.
Yeah.
So,
or the belief of like, if you believe Republican, you absolutely are not pro LGBTQ,
right.
Or vice versa. If you're a Democrat, you definitely are against or pro abortion. True. So anyway, all right. So let's start with inflation. And I'm going to admit, I know very little about inflation. I don't think I can speak intelligently about it, but so I had to look this up a bit. Inflation is the rate of increase in prices over a given period of time. And here's what I didn't realize. Inflation is not about how much things cost, which you hear that, in the news all the time. It's rather how prices are changing in a given month. So when people say inflation make gas prices, that's not exactly true, I don't think. But anyway, so with inflation, what are your thoughts? What Harris versus Trump in the inflation?
Ooh, things were lower when Trump was in. But here's my thing. I'm not an expert. However, I don't know how much of that was Trump, or even if it was low during Biden. I want to be fair. I don't know how that works. There's a lot of people under them. So I get the leadership part of it. So I don't know when Trump's saying it was the greatest economy of the world, and now Biden's saying it's a great economy and lowest unemployment rates ever. As an American, I just don't know what to believe because I don't know where all these stats are other than on CNN.com, FoxNews.com. Right. And we try to look at all of them in MSNBC. There's one called Epoch News. It's a newsletter I get. You can get it daily, but I get it every weekend because it's just too much. And I don't know. I mean, for that, I would be more pro-Trump because I guess things were lower. But
it was the average yearly inflation during Trump was 1.9%, and during Biden has been 5.7. I think it peaked at like 9.1. But so, and again, this is me talking from a very uneducated background on this. But so with COVID, I think COVID played a big part of this. During COVID, obviously, there was that mandated stay at home. All the people stopped working. So when we returned to work, there was not enough like products to be put out there. So prices went up. And then gas prices, I don't think are controlled by the president.
No, that's the thing. When everybody's blaming Uncle Joe.
Yeah. I don't think he has like specific control. He doesn't get up in the morning and be like, unleaded's 140. I don't think you can blame Biden for high gas prices. The Russian war in Ukraine, that plays a part.
But if we had not stopped drilling and used some of the gas under our own soil, was that fracking or whatever, maybe we could have been relying. That's what Trump was running on is we'll drill, baby, drill. We have it here. We don't need to pay outside. And that's where I do believe. I think we need to. Here's my thing in this overall conversation. It's steering a ship, not a jet ski. Like you're not going to turn in 2 seconds. It's going to take a while.
I like that.
So I think if we like focus on like some of the electric stuff, I would have an electric car. I had a hybrid back when I had a Prius and loved it. I hardly ever filled up with gas. which was great. But I think if we made that small shift and we looked
Yeah.
towards that, maybe we could be a little bit more, I guess, efficient rather than like foreign oil. So maybe it is controlled by that. But again, I think as a normal American, what I see people post about or comment about is, we're just
Groceries.
we're effed up about gas and groceries
Yeah.
and milk.
And I get
which,
that.
Thank God I don't drink
But
milk. 'Cause
the,
it's
the hard
$8.
part, the thing that I had challenged with when researching this is we have Trump. He's been president, so we have kind of an idea of what he would do in his policies. While Kamala has been vice president, but it's not the same level, so you can't really judge her policies. A lot of her policies are
100%.
what Biden, put forth. So it was hard for me to come up with like what Harris is going to do for inflation. She's mentioned that she wants to make that a top priority, whatever that means. She did help pass the American Rescue Plan, which was that $2 trillion stimulus package. Remember, we got all those checks during COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Did that, which boosted unemployment insurance benefits, expanded the child tax credit. But Trump, he wants to make tax rates reductions permanent, to continue to deregulate the economy and encourage greater production of U.S. energy, which is what
Right here.
you said that. So with all that
Unleash the
said,
power.
who do you think is going to do a better job of dealing with inflation, Trump versus Harris? I'm going to keep a tally, by the way. So at the end, we're just going to know how we're going to vote.
Mine would be Trump.
All right. So Trump was.
Here's the thing. I've lived in Illinois, I've lived in Texas, and I now live in Tennessee. So a blue state, 2 red states, and then you look down at what Florida's doing. So those 4 states, Illinois is the only one who is failing miserably. And I can say that because I'm from there. I don't know about Delaware and Wisconsin and all the other blue states. But after looking at it, I mean, they keep taxing more and more and more. And when I was looking to move back to Chicago like 4 years
I
ago,
remember that.
I could buy cheaper up there than I can on Lakeshore Drive than I can here in Nashville because Nashville's booming. Supply, the demand is so much more than the supply right now. So when I was looking at that, I was still worse off by moving to Chicago where I could buy for cheaper because the taxes were so much more. And you have companies leaving Illinois. So when you have Caterpillar and these multi-billion-dollar companies leaving a state, that just destroys all of downstate. It doesn't hurt Chicago itself. It hurts the downstate of Illinois. So that's where I'll vote red, I think, for a lot of economic stuff because there's less programs. They're cutting taxes. People have more dispendable income, which helps. I'm not an economist. And when you look at inflation, yeah, it's a simple definition, but there's a snowball effect.
Oh, and
you see it.
There's
Your
so
industry,
much that plays a part in that too.
100%.
Which I don't understand.
I don't either. And I think it takes an economist. There was an economist that came to our job. He was one of the biggest economists for multifamily housing. And he knows like the past 5 presidents. This guy, he literally told us, he's like, it doesn't matter who's in office.
Yeah.
He's like, I could care less who's in office. It's everybody under him. It's just decisions we make at the state level. And it's all of us. He said, all of us peons at this level, even though he's really high up, he put himself down there with all of us sitting in that room. And he's like, it didn't matter.
If I had to make a decision right now, and I really want to make a decision objectively, not based on the fact that I do not care for Trump as a human, right? He did a horrible job managing the COVID response, which COVID is what kind of created inflation in the U.S. I think It's like with all the mandated stay at homes and all the factories shut down and all that. So I don't think he did a good job there. I don't know exactly what Harris is going to do. She said she's going to make it a priority, but based on Trump's response, I mean, I would tend to lean towards Trump based on numbers. So maybe Trump in the inflation piece.
I think we need, especially in high schools and stuff, talk about economics a lot more because I remember having an econ class and it's like, where does oil come from? And here's a price.
Oh, honey,
and
the
you
Americans
do a little
in
bit
general,
of math.
yeah,
it's horrible. So I want to know what really matters. And I know you can only go so far, but and you can rig it too. You can be like, well, with Trump, and then you can it's your narrative.
Yeah,
it's what you want to say, and both sides are going to have their own narrative. But I want to know, because people even here in Nashville, housing is so expensive because there's so many people moving here, so the demand's up, and yeah, we have a lot of apartments, a lot of homes being built, but it won't keep up with supply. So how do you? I mean, there's $700,000 townhomes that are like 2 bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are people affording
Yeah.
that? And in my industry, multifamily housing rents for a 1-bedroom downtown averages $2,700.
That's insane.
For a 1-bedroom apartment, you're talking 700 square feet. And then they talk about Joe Biden. And I said, well, I've never talked to Joe Biden. And that, I'm sure in some way you could kind of force the narrative of this is where, lumber prices and steel prices and cost. But the person selling that land knows what he's sitting
Mhm.
on. So now you buy a piece of land to build a high rise. Now your prices jump because that land went from 500,000 to $12 million for an acre downtown Nashville. And now the price of everything's gone up because of COVID. So now we have to charge those rents, but I see what they're making. We don't have to charge those rents.
Yeah.
Walmart can give their employee, you can't sit here and say, we just made $12 billion, but we're in a recession.
Yeah. We've got the largest yacht in the world.
Yeah. And milk's $8 a gallon.
Yeah.
And how are us normal people affording this?
But
stuff?
does Walmart determine that price, or are they having to change the price based on how they're getting the milk from like
Sure.
the what is it, the dairy farm?
I think it's corporate greed. I think you have, I see it in my industry all the time.
Yeah.
These owners of all these apartment complexes do not need to charge what they're charging.
Yeah.
Now in some cases they do. They're losing money right now because they built it. It's not fully occupied or whatever it is. And whatever business you start a grocery store, you have a markup.
Yeah.
But then it's also a corporate greed. It's well, we got to let these people go. So now you're doing 4 jobs because they want to make more money at the top, even though you can have 3 employees with you. But yet you soaked up all those. So that's where inflation gets tricky because it's like what snowballs into it.
All right. So far, we're
Trump.
both for Trump for inflation.
Yes.
All right. Moving on.
Who would have thunk it, y'all?
Number 2, health care.
Yes.
Well, Trump wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act,
Mhm.
which makes healthcare affordable to more people. That's some people's view of it. Other people say it's a waste, but wants to spend less on Medicare and Medicaid, wants to promote flexibility for states, but limit eligibility for coverage under Medicaid and to lower drug prices.
Mhm.
And then Kamala wants to protect the Affordable Care Act. Most likely will try to extend Medicaid coverage in the 10 states that haven't expanded it under the ACA, and wants to expand Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing for seniors.
Mhm.
Now, that's just very basics with
Amazing.
healthcare, right?
Mhm.
So it's not a deep dive, but what are our thoughts on
What Trump did, he did eliminate the cost of, if you didn't have insurance, there was a fee, right? So that I do love. I think with healthcare too, and again, we always compare ourselves to Canada, but there's a major greed issue there because friends that work in pharmaceuticals say how messed up it is, and here we are pushing these drugs, and this is the best drug that's making all these people money. All we talk about is money and not people's well-being, because you may take that for a headache, but now you have explosive diarrhea,
right?
Or headaches or whatever else you have. It's going to cause 10 more things. So that's where, is there a cure for cancer? And they're just keeping it because there's too much money. It comes
Sounds
down
like
to
a
money.
conspiracy theory there.
It sure does. And I think to get to more of a universal, they got to cut the costs. There's so much money in it that what about people's livelihoods and going to the doctor, paying a fair price? So I think it needs to be regulated. That's where I'm more kind of democratic leaning on this. Is like, hey, this is something that I'm all more like deregulate the government on a lot of things, but I think there can be a fine line. There can be a really good balance, not a fine line, a balance of here's this clinic, here's this affordable clinic, here's different things for different people. There's not one solution.
Yeah, I agree. I think I tend to lean more towards Kamala on this one. I don't think the Affordable Care Act is, the best option, but it is the option that we have, that many people have right now. And like you said, we're trying to, turn a ship, not a jet ski. It's not like you can just stop the Affordable Care Act. That's millions of people. I forget how many people are covered by it, but I think it was like 21 million. I maybe made that up. But that's a ton of people that would just immediately not have insurance.
And you can't stop it. And like a program like food stamps or Section 8 and a lot of the government programs you have out there, they need totally revamped. And you can't just take that away and take people's housing and food away, but you can slowly, we've pigeonholed some of these communities into living a life of poverty because
Mhm.
they get so used to it. There's no way out. And I think there's some personal responsibility there, but there's also a responsibility of the government to do the right thing. And then public servants, aka politicians, should be public servants that want to do the right thing and not put money in their pockets
Mhm.
or their friends' pockets.
Yep.
And so there's definitely a lot of corruption and conspiracies and all that stuff too. But yeah, and my mom found out she was diabetic probably about the age I am now, 43, 45, something like that. So she's been diabetic almost 30 years. It's this tiny little thing, just whatever, there was no signs of it, whatever. The cost of her medicine
Mhm.
is absolutely, I think it came down with Biden or Trump. The last few years, it's come down for whatever. But it is, and my parents have worked hard all their lives. And it's just like, how do you afford
Yeah.
this medicine that's going to keep you going?
I hear that
And
all the time with patients talk about, I can't afford my copay because I had to pay for the medication to treat the condition for
mhm,
which I've been sent to physical therapy for. Like,
it's
so you
just
got
a
to
cycle.
choose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely wanting to lower drug prices, which Trump says that's what he wants to do. I'm sure both would say they want to lower drug prices. I don't see anybody saying, you know what, Advil needs to be more expensive.
Yeah, whoever comes in, they need to run on a policy to overhaul it for the good of the country.
Yeah.
And you always hear how great Canada is, especially in the last two elections. People are like, "I'm moving to Canada.
Yeah, but you know
Healthcare's
how long you have
free."
to wait?
You're waiting, so
You
there's
have a
there's
brain
a pro
tumor.
and
There's a
con.
9-month waiting
Yeah,
period to get it's absurd. I mean, it's slight exaggeration,
and
but
I'm all for like and make as much as you can and stuff like that. But if you work for a public institute or a private institute, sorry, like healthcare and stuff, as a doctor, it's kind of weird that you're making like $12 million a year and everybody's suffering. So if you're making that and everybody's good and it's affordable and you're just making that money, great. But I think that's what needs looked at as well. Like I think if I was in a position where everybody was homeless, but I was making all this money in multifamily housing, I would have a hard time accepting that check. There's a guy in Seattle, I forget what kind of company he has, but he made like 7 million a year. He took his income down to like 750,000 a year and gave all that back to the employees. Guess who still has all of his employees? That guy.
yeah, I like that idea. But I also, I don't think there's anything wrong with if you've worked hard, like a doctor. Doctors deserve to make the ones that are making a lot of money. A lot of
Mhm,
them really deserve that. That
mhm.
I don't think people realize the intensity of the training, years and years of sleepless nights and working
Tons of
hard.
med school.
So
Mhm.
I think they deserve lots of money. I also think teachers deserve more money.
Yeah. But when
There's
people struggle, that's my thing. Yeah, make 12 million. Absolutely. I would love to make 12 million this year. But it's like if people are struggling and you go into the hospital and you stay one night and your bill's
yeah,
$83,000
your box of
and you have
tissues was 400. You're like, I didn't even
that's
use
the
all
problem.
that.
So we're out of whack. And I thought COVID would reset everything. It's like we just need to reset in values.
Yep.
But I agree. In healthcare, 100%, they should make the money.
All right. So who are you leaning towards on healthcare? I'm going with Kamala Harris.
That's one I just wish I knew more about. And as
If
I
you had
get
to,
older, I
but look,
will.
babe, most Americans make decisions based on limited information, right?
Yeah.
We don't, no one knows everything about all the
I
policies.
think with
So,
the Affordable Care Act and I like what Trump has done, but I would vote blue on that one too.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
Number 3, jobs and economy.
Woo! Trumper on that one.
Okay.
I'm
So,
just jumping out there right now.
so the unemployment rate during Trump was 5%, and
Mhm,
during Biden was
mhm.
4.1%. So Biden had a lower
Yeah.
unemployment rate. I mean, it's not a huge difference,
But
but
still almost 1% of our population. That's a good sized jump.
in terms of
How's
like job
tell?
creation, I thought this was an interesting stat. If you take the time out during the pandemic, so the pandemic started at the last year of Trump's presidency, but so they removed that because you can't really talk about job creation during that time, right? There was a mandated stay at home. So, but they looked at the jobs created from January 2017 to February of 2020, and Trump had created 6.7 million jobs. And then they looked at Biden, the same thing, January 2021 through February 2024. Biden created 14.9 million. So on paper, it looks like Biden's created a ton more jobs.
Mhm.
But I wonder if part of that too isn't people returning from COVID and going back to work. And it's not like he necessarily created the jobs. They were
It's
just
just brought
like, it's
back.
time to to work again.
And it
So
counted in that period.
yeah, so I don't
maybe he
know.
got lucky.
I don't know if that's 100% true. And then let's see, what are the other? Kamala Harris will not raise taxes on anyone making greater than 400,000.
Yep.
As Attorney General, she secured the $18 billion settlement for banks for their role in the housing crisis. Which, I mean, she wasn't vice president at that time, but it kind of shows what she was fighting for. So for you, still on jobs and economy, you're going to go with Trump.
Yeah. I think the manufacturing. So we have to look at blue collar jobs. In the last few decades, so many of us were not forced, but encouraged to go to college and don't do all this manual labor job and go here and do this. So I think we're in my industry too. It's hard to find manual labor with plumbing, HVAC, electrical. These people are making tons of money because the supply of workers is so low. And that's where I liked where, my uncle worked for a company that his job was eliminated because it went to Mexico. And that was 20 years ago. And thank God he was at retirement age because, like, what do you do? It's literally going not even 1,000 miles away just for money. It destroyed the middle Illinois economy. This was a big, big, big company. So that's where I like Trump, pro-American, pro-blue, bring it here, keep it here, keep that money local, keep that money in America, the shipping, so many industries, infrastructure. But that's again where Mayor Pete's done a lot of really good stuff under Biden. The infrastructure and the roads in Illinois is the one good thing. They're putting all this money back into the roads, and it's just great. And the bridges are all getting redone.
I just don't know. I don't think I see Trump as pro-America. I think he's pro-Trump.
You think he's pro him?
Yeah, he'll do anything to get people to vote for him. So when people say he's pro-America, that suggests that Kamala Harris is not pro-America. I think they both are wanting what's best for America within their kind of self-absorbed view of the world, which is what we all do.
I would be there too. Yeah. This is my view of it. This is how I want it run. I think she's very pro-America. I like her a lot. I did like a lot of the stuff he did and where our country was at that point. But then on the flip side of it, you had the crime was up. I know that's not part of this section, and we're not even talking about crime today, but you see all the bad stuff that was there. That's where I'm torn. You just have to make the right decision. But I do think he was more, union job, which Biden has done a lot of that too. I don't know. I just view him as bringing more of that home and keeping it here.
Yeah.
So that's where I'd go with Trump on that one.
I think if I have to pick somebody today, just because I don't know what she's going to do with jobs and how she's going to affect that. I mean, and Trump did create quite a bit of jobs. So I hate to say it, but I'll probably lean on Trump for jobs and economy.
I think she would do. I think any candidate that goes in needs to be pro-American, like you and I just said. They are. I wouldn't want to get into conspiracy theories, but at some point it's like, why? How are you not, taxing these companies or putting, like Trump did on the tariffs on these companies that were taking stuff out? Great, you're going to pay a double tariff. So now you may make more if you have it assembled in Bangladesh, but now to get it back here, it's this. That's where I like that. And I think every politician should be on that side of it, on that side of the aisle.
All right.
So we got the jobs figured out.
Let's talk about immigration.
Oh, Lord.
All right. Trump, of course, promising a massive crackdown on immigration. He wants to end the catch and release program, wants to restore the Remain in Mexico program, and eliminate asylum fraud, which all sounds good, right? It sounds good on paper. Kamala Harris, she was tapped by Biden in 2021 to examine the root causes of the Central American migration. She opposes family separation, allows undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens to apply for a green card, and voted against Trump's border wall. Remember that border wall that he was obsessed with? Do you know how long the border is between U.S. and Mexico?
That would be a long wall. It's like 100 miles or something.
1,954 miles.
I knew there was a one in there.
Yeah. He built 450 feet of that. Or 450 miles of that.
450 feet. Yeah. I'm like, damn. He did not make a dent. But can you put a wall up? Because there's a river. Can you put a wall the entire way? Because if you miss a section, they're just going to go through there.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know,
I don't know if you can
people
actually.
need to come into this country legally, like we would if we wanted to move to Italy or Portugal, which is where I hear a lot of people are going very cheap to live there.
I agree with this, but I want to try to put yourself in the situation of a father with a few children deep in Guatemala or wherever, and gangs are coming into your city and killing and creating violence. It's horrible. What do you do if there's a country that you could get to however way you can?
Can they walk here from Guatemala?
Oh, they have.
They have. Is it Mexico?
I'm sure there's, I'm sure you jump trains and float rivers but I just don't think, I think I understand why we want to slow down. I do want to limit crazies and, MS-13 and all that from coming over. But what about all these families that are stuck in situations like that? I think, going into these countries and helping there, trying to not keep them from coming, but provide a situation, a better economy, more safety. I don't know how you do that. But instead of waiting for them to get to the border and then put them in cages or whatever we were doing. But I don't know. I have a hard time with immigration because I want families to feel like they've got an option in this world. But I don't think the U.S. has a right or has the responsibility of taking everybody.
No, yeah, I agree. It's a sticky situation because when you think of it like that, it puts it into a whole new perspective of compassion and caring. All of our families came from somewhere. We did not originate from here, but it's also been a couple hundred years. This nation's a different nation. When you look at little kind of nuances like that, it's like, where are they coming from? Oh my God, because my parents, your parents, any parent out there would do whatever they had to do for their family. Would you steal a loaf of bread from the store to feed you would
absolutely.
You would.
I'd rob the whole store.
I would. TV and get everything like they were doing. But this is where I think we are all more kind of aligned. You have kind of different rhetorics, but we're still more aligned of keep America safe. I don't buy into that narrative that all these rapists are coming over. It's a political gain on Trump's side. You see what happens on Broadway here with all these white dudes just getting in fights and hurting people and pushing women. And it's like, it's crazy downtown Nashville. You can see it in the paper and on the news reports every day of all the stuff that's going on. None of that's illegal. Illegal immigrants doing that. So if you have this one-off that raped a girl,
it's awful.
That also happens in churches. That also happens in everyday life here. So I think that narrative needs to go away. We need to look at the problem rather than for political gain. It's like, there could be a one way in, one way out. Come do your paperwork. I don't have an answer of, hey, there's a gang in our backyard shooting everybody. I can't just all right, let me get our tickets to America and let's get on the website and let's apply and let's submit. Let's go ahead and scan our IDs. And that formal way of doing it, I've never been to the border. I may never go to the border. I don't know a better way, but the narrative of 11 million criminals being let in and they're all getting $1,500 a month. Are they getting money? Because they said they're putting them up in hotels. I've never seen that.
Yeah, I've listened to a few podcasts just talking about, and this doesn't mean all immigrants are getting this. It was a select amount of them that were getting free housing in New York for extended periods of time. And a certain amount of an allowance. But again, I don't know. You look at the numbers and it's all over the place. Yes, there have been more illegal immigrants entering the country in the last year or two than 5 or 10 years ago. And is that related to the fact that, we have a Democrat that's leading, or is it because Central America is ravaged with,
right now.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I think both of those can exist. But I know Trump would be he's going to be strict. He's going to have, a policy that's going to limit more immigrants from coming in, I think, than Harris would. She's been the czar of the border, is what the Republicans call her.
What does that mean?
She's in charge of the border because Biden kind of tasked her to do that, I think, in 2021.
To see what's going on down there. Yeah.
And I think Trump would do if I want a country to be a little more secure, I think Trump would be the one to do that versus Kamala for immigration. So,
and he's running on that. Here's where the Democrats mess up. They need to squash the Republicans saying the Democrats are coming for all your guns. I still have friends and family tell me that. I said, literally, I've never heard anybody coming for your guns. Do they want reform, get the automatic rifles and the slingshot, gunshot, whatever they're called, that shoots off 38 rounds in 2 seconds? That's a war weapon. Get them off. No one needs that for a toy. You can have a gun, you can have a shotgun. Look at all the mass shootings. I mean, they're just spraying these crowds.
I mean,
so again, that's where it is, but that's where the Democrats mess up bigly, because they aren't coming out and say, we're not coming for your guns. We want reform.
Yeah.
But that's where they mess up a lot. Where the Republicans mess up is they need to come out for equal rights. Melania Trump with the log cabin Republicans just raised $1.5 million in her and Donald's penthouse with a gay group of men in one night. 1.5 million for the log cabin Republicans.
I bet that was a good party.
And that would have been fun. She was in a
penthouse,
gown, and it was her and
a
a
gay
bunch
party.
Of gay dudes.
Can you imagine the catering?
Well, Ivanka's really liberal.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to understand that's where the Republicans would get more gay votes if they would actually come out and say it, because there's not a Republican I know personally that votes Republican to get rid of our community. There's not one. And I'm sure there are some out there, but there's also people out there on the left that want to take all the guns and want to take all the rights. So again, these two extremes, that's where if I was on either party, I'd be like, okay, I see the narrative here. We can get all these votes and get these people. If I could say this and mean it, I don't want them to say it and not mean it. But that's where the Democrats mess up. Squash the gun thing. They've been talking about this since Hillary. It's like she's going to come into the homes. That's not going to happen.
Also, the people that are like, they're coming for our guns. Like, that's the only thing they have of value probably in their trailer, right? Is their gun. Like, that's what you're worried about.
I can't imagine living my whole life, and that's the narrative I have for every election. How boring is that? So build a wall. I don't care. People can come in legally. There should be a process. I've had my buddy Et became a citizen from South America. I mean, it took him like 6 years. I mean, it took him a long time to go through the process. I've had friends at work. We've celebrated them becoming a citizen from Mexico. It took them a long time. They had family here that they stayed with.
Yeah, I get that. But not everybody has 6 years. Not everybody, like some people, it is a dire emergency.
Do we take them?
Well, I don't think I have the answer. I just know that it's not enough to say, just be patient. I know the gangs are burning down your city, but 5.5 more years and we'll be able to get you across here. Like, no, I'm taking the family. I'm putting them in a wagon. We're heading to the border. I will dig a hole. I will cut a hole in the fence. I'm going to do something to protect my family. Now, when I get here, I'm going to have to play by the rules. I'm going to have to, maybe I can't get a job because I'm undocumented. Maybe I have to work as a day laborer because I'm undocumented. And then I start the process of either asylum or maybe a green card. Like, there's a process, but getting here is sometimes a dire emergency. So it's easy to put a blanket statement out there and say,
especially for us.
Yeah, like, we don't want you coming here. Well, guess what? I'm going to drop you into the middle of Venezuela right now and see how you do. And when you're ready to come back, I'm going to say, no, you got to wait 6 years. Figure it out. Sorry, the website's down. So, all right. So
the alternative, do you, say we're spending $100 million on all this, the 11 million people in and all the false narratives that they're claiming, but there is money being spent. There is an issue. Do we spend 20 million and give it to that country and be like, all right, fight it over here? We're saving money.
Yeah. I wouldn't give it to that country. I'd just send somebody down there that can kind of manage it. But all right. So on immigration,
broke your pen.
We're both going with Trump, unfortunately.
Yes.
On that one. Oh God.
But here's
okay.
We're going with Trump.
All right. Abortion.
Oh.
Okay.
You know what? Here's the thing. I don't know a lot about this because I've never had one.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Never will. I've had good talks with family members who adopt and do great things. And my brother's one of them. They've adopted 4 kids and they're beautiful. And I love the kids.
Focus.
And back in 83, here's my thing. It's like, don't have one. Is there a rule that you can't have one after 4 weeks? Let's put standards in place. There might be, I don't know. Put standards in place. These are the rules for it. Other than that, you can't have one.
It comes down to Roe v. Wade for me. Trump, he takes credit for dismantling
He's proud
or
of it.
overturning Roe v. Wade.
Mhm.
And I think that was an absolute mistake for our country and for women.
I agree.
I don't want somebody in office who is making decisions for someone of the opposite gender with it seems like it's uncaring and it's not supporting women and I don't know. I cannot get behind Trump on abortion. Period.
We're both in the blue on that
Kamala Harris,
100%.
100%.
Here's the thing. Like, all this rhetoric on this is more biblical and religious. That has no place in our government. It doesn't. I believe in God. I have a cross on my arm. I'm a believer. But let these women.
Hold on. You believe in God? You have a cross on your arm.
Yeah, look.
But why?
See,
what does that have to do with it?
Because I'm a believer. Like,
Oh.
I also believe that women have the right. I don't think anybody, even other women, if Kamala didn't support abortion, right? The women still has the right.
Yeah.
So the right side is more religious leaning in that, and it's a child. I don't remember being in my mom's stomach or wherever you are. I don't remember that. If I was deceased before that, you're not going to. And I don't know. I'm not one of these. Life is in here. No. If you're affected by it, yeah, at 8 months, if the woman's going to die, and I think we all agree, if there is someone, and even Trump has in place those policies. Or he supports that if there's endangerment of delivery and the mother could die, all that's already in there. So I think there's compassion on both sides. I just think it's an ideal. I would never have an abortion because I care for life too much. Well, adopt 48 kids. I don't know.
At one point, Trump was supportive of abortion rights, and he changed it. He changed it for his platform as Republican,
correct. Which was smart.
So, and look, you can change your mind. I think you got to give politicians the grace to change their mind. Maybe he did, but I don't know. It's a very sensitive subject, and it's not one that I feel like I have a right to make it. I don't have sex with women. Point. I'm never gonna have pregnancy. If you do what you want to do,
100%.
I can judge you behind your back, maybe, but
yeah.
All right.
It's hard. Knowing Trump and everything he's bragged about and is in the news that is true, I'm sure he's paid for a few.
Oh,
at this point.
Are you kidding? A lot of
and there's a lot of politicians that have paid for him but won't vote against it. That's hypocrisy. We need to get rid of the hypocrisy in the community. / America.
All right.
/ politics.
So last one.
Listen to me being political.
We're at 42 minutes. We got to roll. Here we go.
Okay.
National security.
Oh, let's spend the money. We need to back the blue. We need to increase our spending with war stuff and all stuff. All that.
What does that mean?
I don't know politics stuff.
Well, hold on. You just talked for 40 minutes. All of a sudden, you don't have an opinion on this?
Like this part of it.
Oh, okay.
National security, we can't be weak. That's where I like Trump a little bit. We seemed to be a lot calmer in the space of war zones. I don't know. I just feel as Americans, we are just being fed all this information, and I don't even know, like, where does all the lottery money go? Where does that go?
Well,
like,
stay
we
focused.
Don't even know.
No.
This
National
is
security.
My point. This is my point for security, lottery, security, both ends and why. We got to figure out the spending, and we need to protect our borders.
You sound like Kamala Harris now. You're just wandering with
Joe.
All right. So here's my issue with no, bro. There's so many people online that I keep saying about how Trump is better at national security. He's going to keep us safer and all that. I don't have all the specifics, but I don't think he's done as well as people give him credit for. I mean, he handled the pandemic horribly. He was the one that abolished the pandemic preparedness team. He failed to fill the national stockpiles of equipment needed for the pandemic. That's a national security issue. He announces major decisions without adequate consultation with allies and does not listen to his own advisors. That's scary to me. You're making national security decisions based on a selfish megalomaniac attitude, which is terrifying. He's withdrawn from the INF Treaty, the Paris Climate Accord. the Trans-Pacific Patriot negotiations, the multi-level arms limitation agreement with Iran. I mean, he's done a ton of things withdrawing from us, and which has allowed China and other countries to kind of come in and fill the void.
Oh, really?
And then he's failed to stand up to Russia. He thinks Putin and him are like besties. And I just think he does a really poor job. With that said, I don't know if Harris would do a better job. She lacks experience. I think she has traveled quite a bit as the vice president. I think she was saying she's been to 21 countries and met, all sorts of leaders. So you learn on the job. So I wonder how she is now with national security. But I'm going with Kamala Harris on this one. I just don't think. I think Trump is he's too scary, and I don't want him making decisions based on how his Twitter feed's going to look.
He's still posting on there.
Oh, who knows?
I'm going to go with you. I like Kamala. Said it wrong. Here's the thing. As we wrap up this historic episode.
Keep going.
I need a teleprompter. I'm like Joe.
Still
you
go.
Get me off. Oh, hey, and two, Trump, you get him off a script. He's gone, honey. He's out in La La Land. Your leader, I hear so many times about we need strong and mean, and I don't care about the mean man who has felonies. I'm voting for him. But then you have this other side. It's like, I have women that tell me that Kamala should not be president because as a woman, we can't make those decisions. We just get so emotional. I'm like, well, look at Trump's tirade. Look at Biden going off the rails. So again, being kind of like an independent here, I would go with Kamala because it is about that relationship building. It is, we do that in America with our company. That's networking. That's politics. We're all in politics a little bit with our jobs and where we work. And that's just the way it is. So I don't think her being able, I don't view her as weak as at all, but you also have all these like generals that work in the control rooms with them. They're in there with them. You see President Obama, you saw Clinton, you saw all of these presidents in that office. George Bush on 9/11 in that office. Hillary Clinton was there. I mean, you have all these people in this office with all these generals that are all acclaimed and 5-star, 4-star, whatever they are. It's like we're not in bad hands. I think every person that is running for a political office wants the better of the country.
Yes, agreed.
They have their own views. I would run on a different platform as you. We would have our own, like, this is the way I think it should be run. So both candidates, I think, I don't know what our tally is, but I'm leaning towards Kamala in this election. But when Joe was running, I was not leaning towards him. I just
our tallies are exactly the tests that we took. We are right down the middle. Yeah. Of the 6 issues, we're 3 and 3.
Oh,
so that did not help us.
But so 40 something minutes later, we still don't know. But we vote off emotion. We vote off the people we like. Kamala doesn't have that big of a name. She's been a vice president. But my thing, people told me, well, what has she even done? I said, what did Melania do? What did Michelle do? And as like first ladies, right? But then it's like they're always pushed to the back. Like, I don't even know. Obviously, she's not a first lady.
Yeah.
But my thing about women, it's like they're always pushed to the side. Like, I don't know what she's done, but it's also been Joe's been in the news.
Yeah.
She's the vice president. I would give her a chance.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what Al Gore did.
He created
as vice
the internet,
president,
remember?
And doesn't he still live here in Nashville? He's from this area.
Oh, he's
and
probably flying on one of his jets.
but with a first lady or a vice president, people always want to jump. Well, I don't even know what Kamala did. Well, okay, why don't you go through the list, Mr. Friend, and tell me what every vice president did? Why can't? Well, yeah, you're putting it on Kamala right now. And then if people bash Trump, I want to be down the middle. It's like, all right, don't bash him. Let's kind of do what we did today, talk policy. And there's a lot of stuff on politics. I'm so uncomfortable because I don't know all the treaties. Although I do know War and Treaty. They're a great band.
Okay.
And all right. We had the Country for a Cause this year.
Oh, here we go. Off the rails. So here's the question. All right. Focus on this. If you had to explain to somebody who you're voting for in one sentence or two, no more than that, say it based on this. So we're right down the middle. You're 50-50 on the top 6 policies. How do you justify your vote? right now, and it might change.
Ooh, that's hard in 2 sentences. I would justify a vote for Kamala Harris based on the change of events the past month and a half. She's, I think, bringing more people together. I think Trump had my vote. He had an amazing opportunity to not derail. And that's why I'm going to go with her. It's mostly what he did, not what she's done.
Yeah.
It's what during the debate, you're debating an old man who's going senile and you still are on an attack. He's made a lot of progress. I've watched all the speeches at the RNC. I'll watch both sides. I like watching people speak. That's more than 2 sentences.
Definitely
I
more than 2
apologize.
sentences.
But this is a run-on sentence. I'm still in the same sentence, semicolon. Kamala Harris, I think she's bringing people together. I think there's professionalism. I think if she says the right things to bring people from the right over, tackle the gun, tackle the border. Both sides have to be strict on the border. Going with her.
It's funny you mentioned saying the right things. You know, she's known for her word salads, right? She just kind of randomly. Let's take a listen to.
We got a clip, y'all.
Yeah.
3,
Especially
2, 1.
true when it comes to the climate crisis, which is why we will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work operating from the new norms, rules, and agreements that we will convene to work together on to galvanize global action.
I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past, but the future. During Women's History Month, we celebrate and we honor the women who made history throughout history. For Jamaica, one of the issues that has been presented as an issue that is economic in the way of its impact has been the pandemic. So to that end, we are announcing today also that we will assist Jamaica in COVID recovery by assisting in terms of the recovery efforts in Jamaica that have been essential to, I believe, what is necessary to strengthen not only the issue of public health, but also the economy. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
I love her.
You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
I'd almost rather listen to Trump's rants.
Oh, funny you should mention that.
Oh, you have one?
Yeah. I did this for a reason. Like, a lot of the things I see online against Kamala is that she does this kind of word salad thing. And it's true. It's embarrassing. It's cringe. But you have to remember who Trump and what Trump has said in the past.
The Mueller report, I wish, covered the oranges, how it started. In the failing New York Times by an anonymous, really an anonymous, gutless coward. They sacrifice every day for the furniture and future of their children. Tim Apple, Mike Pounds. I know words. I have the best words. Yosemites, Nambia. Thailand. Ooh, there's a mosquito. I don't want mosquitoes around me. I'm a very stable genius. People are flushing toilets 10 times, 15 times, as opposed to once. Sinks, right? Showers. And what goes with a sink and a shower? 10 times, right? 10 times. Wow, not me, of course, not me.
Yeah, this is.
We'd all be a little bit like that.
Of course.
If your teleprompter goes off or, we ramble. That's who we are. That brings, here's what those do. That brings normalcy to me for both. I would
both have
coffee with both of them.
They both have issues with getting their thoughts together, as do I. Now, I think I have a better ability to sum it up. She does tend to kind of wax, on and on and on.
A lot of us have that ability.
Yeah. But all right. So for me, yes, I am split down the middle right now on the top 6 issues, but I think it comes down to character for me. I think Trump is a selfish, dishonest narcissist who is, 88 criminal charges against him, even if only one of them is correct. Like, I cannot imagine voting for somebody like that. I think Harris is inexperienced, a little overly woke for me at times, and she can't seem to get her thoughts together sometimes. But if it came down to it, and Jason, I was talking to Jason about this recently, and he reminded me of something that Liz Cheney said that I think this is my belief. You can get past bad policy, but I cannot get past a bad character or someone who's going to just obliterate the Constitution and all that. So for me, I'm voting for Kamala.
Hey,
so far,
you did sum that up very well.
I like
that. And my thing in closing,
one sentence.
You have one long run-on sentence. You have two people at the top of the country, president, vice president. You have a lot of people under. You have state, you have local governments, you have courts, you have judicial systems, you have all of this stuff. I agree. It is about the character of that person.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them bringing as many people together as you can. And it's not so much about being the mean person and keeping wars away. There's generals for that. There's actually experienced people. When you're a president of a company, you're not running every department. You're meeting with the finance department, the whatever, all the different department heads and your VPs and your SE, all that stuff.
And you should listen to them. That was the issue I had with Trump. He was known for not listening to his advisors.
Why he lost.
You don't learn without listening to people who know more than you.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, babe. Well,
thank you for
welcome to the presidential debate.
Yes. So if y'all could share this with friends.
Yes, and I'm
will
sure
solve the world's problems.
I'm sure there will be opinions, things we said wrong. Please reach out and let us know, because we definitely want to learn and keep
a lot of stuff I said
keep
wrong.
learning. But all right, babe.
Hey, and like Trump said, all you have to do is vote this next time because everything will be fixed. You only have to vote one more time. That idiot.
All right. Well, babe, I hope you have a good week.
God bless America, and God bless the Constitution of the United States. I love you, Philip.
Love you too, babe. Bye.
Bye. Episode of Two Bottles Deep. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a crazy show idea, email us at twobottlesdeep@gmail.com or hit us up on the old Instagram.
And we really do appreciate you listening to today's show. And when you get the chance, go back and listen to our other episodes, because Lord knows you have nothing better to do.